Welcome back. In the part 2, I'll be discussing the cartilaginous derivatives of pharyngeal arches along with the derivatives of pharyngeal pouches. Let's get started. Starting with the cartilaginous derivatives of pharyngeal arches. In the first pharyngeal arch, this is the mandibular process that contains Meckel's cartilage. During further development, it disappears except for two small portions at its dorsal end that persist and form the incus and malleus. So this is Meckel's cartilage. This one is malleus and this one is incus. The mandible is also formed by membranous ossification of mesenchymal tissue surrounding Meckel's cartilage. So the cartilages that derives from first pharyngeal arch are from the Meckel cartilage, malleus, incus, anterior ligament of malleus, from the mandibular process, sphenomandibular ligament, and lingula of the mandible. Lingula of the mandible and sphenomandibular ligament. Now, from the maxillary process, premaxilla, maxilla, zygomatic part of temporal bone. Zygomatic part of temporal bone. This cartilages derives from first arch. Now coming to the second arch. This is stapes. This one styloid process. This one styloid ligament. This one upper portion of the body of hyoid bone and laser horn. So this one is a stapes, styloid process, stylohyoid ligament, laser horn of the hyoid bone, and this one upper part of the body of hyoid bone. So the cartilages of the second pharyngeal arch are stapes, styloid process, stylohyoid ligament. This one is upper part of the body of hyoid bone, and this one is laser horn of hyoid bone. So I am writing here cartilages of the second or hyoid arch gives rise to stapes, styloid process, stylohyoid ligament, and ventrally the laser horn and upper part of the body of the hyoid bone. Now coming to third pharyngeal arch. It produces greater horn and the lower part of the body of the hyoid bone. So the cartilages of the third pharyngeal arch produces the lower part of the body and greater horn of the hyoid bone. Now fourth and sixth pharyngeal arch. Cartilaginous components of the fourth and sixth pharyngeal arch fuse to form the thyroid, cricoid, arytenoid, corniculate and cuneiform cartilages of the larynx. So, fourth and sixth pharyngeal arch produces laryngeal cartilage, thyroid cartilage, cricoid cartilage, arytenoid cartilage, corniculate cartilage, and cuneiform cartilage. These are all about the cartilaginous derivatives of pharyngeal arches. Now, I will be discussing the derivatives of pharyngeal pouches. Let's get started. Human embryo has 5 pairs of pharyngeal pouches. The last one of these is atypical and often considered as part of the fourth pharyngeal pouch. Since the epithelial endodermal lining of the pouches give rise to a number of important organs, so we will be discussing the fate of each pouch. The first pharyngeal pouch forms a stalk-like diverticulum, the tubotympanic recess, which comes in contact with the epithelial lining of first pharyngeal cleft. This one is first pharyngeal cleft. Which is the future external auditory meatus. Future external auditory meatus. The distal portion of the diverticulum widens into a sac-like structure, the primitive tympanic or middle ear cavity. The lining of the tympanic cavity later aids in formation of tympanic membrane or eardrum. The proximal part of the diverticulum remains narrow and takes part in formation of auditory tube. So the wide distal part forms primitive tympanic cavity and narrow proximal part forms auditory tube. Here the first pharyngeal cleft forms the external auditory meatus. The epithelial lining of the second pharyngeal pouch proliferates and forms buds that penetrate into the surrounding mesenchyme. The buds are secondarily invaded by the mesodermal tissue, forming the primordium of palatine tonsil. Now the third pharyngeal pouch. The third and fourth pouches are characterized at their distal extremity by a dorsal and ventral wing. The epithelium of the dorsal wing of the third pouch differentiates into the inferior parathyroid gland. Inferior parathyroid gland, while the ventral wing forms the thymus. The ventral wing forms the thymus. Coming to the fourth pharyngeal pouch, the epithelium of the dorsal wing of the fourth pharyngeal pouch forms the superior parathyroid gland. The fifth pharyngeal pouch, which is the last to develop, is usually considered to be a part of the fourth pouch. It gives rise to ultimobranchial body. Ultimobranchial body. This ultimobranchial body later incorporated into the thyroid gland. So these are the structures that are formed by the pharyngeal pouches. Coming to another diagram. The diagram shows migration of the thymus, parathyroid glands, and ultimobranchial body. The thyroid gland usually originates in the midline at the level of foramina cecum and descends at the level of first tracheal ring. As we discussed earlier, the first pharyngeal pouch forms a stalk-like diverticulum, the tubitympani process, which comes in contact with the epithelial lining of the first pharyngeal cleft, which is the future external auditory meatus. The distal portion of the diverticulum widens into sac-like structure, the primitive tympanic or the middle ear cavity. The proximal part of the diverticulum remains narrow and forms the auditory tube. The epithelial lining of the second pharyngeal pouch proliferate and forms buds that penetrate into the surrounding mesenchyme. The buds are secondarily invaded by the mesodermal tissue, forming primordium of palatine tonsil. During the 3rd and 5th months, the tonsil is infiltrated by lymphatic tissue, and a part of pouch remains as tonsillar fossa in adult. Now coming to 3rd pharyngeal pouch. In the 5th week, epithelium of the dorsal wing of the 3rd pouch differentiates into the inferior parathyroid gland here, and the ventral wing forms the thymus. Both gland primordia lose their connection with pharyngeal wall and migrates in a caudal and medial direction, pulling the inferior parathyroid gland with it. Thymus moves rapidly to its final position in the anterior part of the thorax. Growth and development of thymus continue until puberty. In young child, thymus lies behind the sternum in thorax. In older person, it's difficult to recognize since it is atrophied and replaced by fatty tissue. The parathyroid tissue of the 3rd pouch comes to rest on the dorsal surface of the thyroid gland and forms inferior parathyroid gland. The epithelium of the dorsal wing of the 4th pharyngeal pouch forms the superior parathyroid gland. When the parathyroid gland loses contact with the wall of the pharynx, it attaches itself to the dorsal surface of the caudally migrating thyroid as the superior parathyroid gland. The 5th pharyngeal pouch is the last pouch to develop and is usually considered to be a part of the 4th pouch. It gives rise to the ultimobranchial body, which is later incorporated into the thyroid gland. Cells of ultimobranchial body gives rise to the parafollicular cell or the C cell of the thyroid gland. This cell secretes calcitonin hormone, which takes part in calcium regulation in blood. Thyroid gland. The thyroid gland usually originates in the midline at the level of the foramina cecum, which later descends to the level of the first tracheal ring. That's all for today.